Fulio's death hit hardest for one person, his mother Sandria's. I was affected by this. Like any grieving parent, she's taking matters into her own hands. She just attacked her son's killers in the courtroom, and it's changing the course of the case. Let me break it down. Blood in the courtroom, in a Florida courtroom packed with attorneys, bailiffs, and a handful of onlookers trying to hold in gasps. A mother stood up. Her voice didn't shake.
How?
Her hands didn't tremble. Her words, they cut like broken glass. I want you to look at me, she shouted, eyes locked on the men accused of plotting and carrying out her son's murder. I lost my son, but you ain't seen a fight yet. That mother was Sandria's Mays, the mother of Giulio Fulio, the controversial Jacksonville drill rapper who was gunned down in a Tampa hotel parking lot on his 26th birthday. The men she was staring down, the alleged shooters, Sean Great, Rashad Murphy, and Dave Murphy, all five were charged with first-degree murder. One pregnant accomplice allegedly flipped on them, but no one expected this. Not in the courtroom, not at the arraignment, not from a grieving mother who'd already survived her own near-death experience. Shot 8 times in a separate incident tied to her son's beef. As everybody knows, I got shot 8 times going to work early in the morning. This wasn't just a court hearing. This was a reckoning. But the most shocking part, some of the people who may have helped plan Fulio's murder were already close enough to know his birthday party location, and it was Fulio himself who dropped that address on Instagram. Now, before we peel back the layers of this wild saga, understand this. Giulio Fulio wasn't just a rapper. He was a magnet for chaos. From viral diss tracks mocking dead rivals to interviews where he practically dared enemies to try him, Fulio's career walked a razor-thin line between fame and fatality. And Sandria's his mother knew it. People ask, where's his mom? It starts from the home. Them not knowing that I stayed on him about this beef stuff, cussed him out, begged him to take stuff down. And when I was shot 8 times, I spared the lives of those even though mine was changed. Wow. And she just basically, spoke about the pain that she had to go through living with her son. She begged, she cried, she pleaded, and then she got shot 8 times and lived to tell the story. Moving on to an important part of this story, beyond the headlines and controversy. Who was Giulio Fulio? To some, he was a villain. To others, a visionary. He was born Charles Jones, and he burst onto the Jacksonville drill rap scene with the kind of raw, unfiltered lyrics that made him an instant target. His biggest viral moment, the infamous track When I See You, a dark parody of Fantasia's R&B ballad, remixed with mocking lyrics about rivals who'd been murdered. It got millions of views and even more enemies. He was shot before. He wore a bulletproof vest to interviews, and still, he moved recklessly. He'd go live, drop his location, and challenge his ops. And that's exactly what he did on his 26th birthday. Demmed fans his party address. He thought he was being slick, but the truth, he was being watched. I was just so surprised that he got all them enemies, man, and he was willing to go live everywhere he went and tell people, even to promote a birthday party. I think it was crazy, man, knowing that, you're still in your home state. I don't know why he didn't go out to a different state and enjoy his birthday party. But if he was somewhere else, man, they probably wouldn't even got him. Surveillance footage from the day of the shooting shows 3 men taking positions around the Holiday Inn parking lot in Tampa. In the early morning hours, the silence broke. A flurry of bullets lit up the scene. Fulio, riding passenger in a car, was gunned down before he could react. 3 other people were shot. He didn't make it. Police identified the alleged shooters as Sean Great, Rashad Murphy, and Davon Murphy. Names tied not just by bloodlines, but by gang affiliations and digital footprints. Plate readers, phone records, and security footage all link them to 2 getaway vehicles. But it was the 4th suspect, a young woman named Alicia L. Andrews, allegedly pregnant at the time, who began to crack.
Ouch.
She's reportedly cooperating with authorities and may testify against them all. They think prison is a game until they get there. Yeah. It's the girl who is charged with the murder of Fulio. She's actually pregnant at the time, so she's cooperating, but she's telling.
Oh,
She'll probably do. She asked for a speedy trial, but this wasn't just a clean cut gang hit. No, Fulio's mother believes this was personal. And if the rumors swirling in the courthouse are true, then at least one of the suspects knew her, had spoken to her, might have even broken bread under her roof, which would explain why her rage. In court felt so raw. At their arraignment, the suspect sat stone-faced as charges were read out. But Sandrius wasn't here for silence. Remain seated. Come to order. Court is now in session. According to court attendees, she didn't just make a statement. She made a scene. She pointed, shouted, and cursed the ground they walked on.
oh. Deputies?
Restrained her. Others cried because this wasn't just about Fulio anymore. This was about a mother who had warned him, who had survived her own assassination attempt, who had watched him ignore every single red flag, and now had to stare down. The people accused of finishing what years of beefs had only threatened. And here's where it gets even darker. One of the accused, Davon Murphy, reportedly had a breakdown before his arrest. Found in his house with a gun to his head, threatening to end his own life. Why? Because even they knew what was coming. The alleged cooperation may prove fatal for her co-defendants, because in Florida, first-degree murder carries a heavy cost. Florida throws out the death penalty left and right, especially for premeditated murders. And this one was as premeditated as it gets. So how did it all spiral out of control? How did a rapper who once said he wanted peace end up bleeding out in a parking lot? And what does his mother's public meltdown reveal about the decades-long chain of beefs that made this inevitable? So, let's go back even further to the beginning, to Fulio's roots in Jacksonville, to the kids he grew up around, to the ones who didn't make it, to the mothers who cried next to his. Because to understand the chaos inside that courtroom, you've got to understand the chaos outside of it. Jacksonville isn't just a city, it's a battleground. Since the early 2010s, rival crews have turned entire blocks into death zones. KTA, ATK, Northside, Southside, Hilltop, Avenue B, names that sound meaningless unless you've lost someone to them. Fulio, real name Charles Jones, was raised in this tension. He wasn't born a menace, he was made one. From sports and Sunday, service to guns and gang ties, the shit happened fast. Survived previous shootings, his godbrothers died. By 17, he was rapping about the dead and dancing on the graves of rivals, and the music industry ate it up. Fulio's rise to fame was fueled by his most controversial trait, disrespect. The rapper's most streamed songs were also his most morbid. Tracks like When I See You and By Story weren't just discords, they were digital eulogies written in sarcasm. His lyrics didn't just name names, they painted crime scenes, laughed at headshots, taunted grieving mothers. His music became a provocation, an open invitation for revenge, and Sandries Mays hated every second of it. This wasn't just artistic expression, it was blood currency. And eventually, someone came to collect. On July 22nd, 2024. Fulio celebrated his 26th birthday. In Tampa, it was supposed to be a private event. Instead, it became an execution. The rapper, just hours into his birthday, was ambushed in the parking lot of a Holiday Inn. Surveillance footage showed men getting into formation before unleashing gunfire. The car he was riding in sped off. 3 others were hit. He was pronounced dead at the scene. In court, the suspects barely blinked. But Sandries Fulio's mom blinked. She blinked through tears. This wasn't just about Fulio. This was about a community she watched die in slow motion. This was about seeing the same young men who once played in her backyard, now staring her down in a courtroom. This was about betrayal. Because, according to sources, at least one of the suspects had been in her house before, might have eaten her food, might have laughed at her son's jokes, and then they killed him. The outburst in court wasn't just emotion. It was a declaration. And that declaration will hang over the trial like a shadow because Sandrius isn't backing down. She's working on a documentary, one that tells the story from her eyes. His mother. She released a statement saying that she wanted to do a documentary on her son and just kind of clearing the air and letting people know where she stood with his whole passing and his life and his legacy. And she said, you know, it's the story that only I can tell because I know the truth from the fakes. She says other mothers lied. They pretended not to know what their sons were doing, not her. She admits it. She saw the devil walking through her living room and tried to shut the door, but he kicked it in. Fulio mocked the dead. The dead returned the favor. And now his mother stands as the last voice echoing in a courtroom full of silence. So many questions remain unanswered. What did we get here? What led to the bloodshed? And did the controversial diss track seal Fio's fate? Death by diss? Fio didn't just rap, he taunted. He didn't just call out enemies. He named names. Names of the dead. Names of mothers' children. Every time he went viral for it, it wasn't just a hit record. It was a provocation. And in the streets of Jacksonville, provocation is a death wish. But before Fio became drill rap's most controversial provocator, a different name dominated Florida's scene. Someone who would eventually become Fio's most famous rival, young Gene Ace. Together, they didn't just beef. They declared war. It wasn't over money. It wasn't over a song. It started like many tragedies with blood. ATK Ace's crew and KTA Fio's camp had long been rivals, but things turned nuclear in 2017. That year, young Gene Ace survived a shooting that killed his brother and 2 friends. Fio, he laughed. Online, the streets took that as a declaration. Retaliations followed. Jacksonville's murder rate exploded, and rap fans nationwide turned it into entertainment. People were dying, and the internet was rating the diss tracks like versus battles. Then in 2021, Ace dropped one of the most infamous tracks in Florida drill history, Who I Smoke, set to Vanessa Carlton's gentle piano melody from 1,000 Miles. The track listed names of KTA members killed in gang warfare with a hook that mocked their death. Fulio responded with When I See You, set to Fantasia's R&B ballad. The lyrics were anything but gentle. He named Ace's dead brother, added images from his funeral, and ended the track by saying he was smoking him. And with every new drop, the body count rose. Fio's discography reads like a murder mystery, except the suspects are never really hidden. He referenced street killings, real life, beefs, and people urinating on graves. Yes, you heard that right. One of Fio's affiliates allegedly urinated on the grave of a rival's brother. Well, according to DJ Vlad Noscano, when you make songs about dead family members, expect retaliation. But Fulio never backed down, not when fans warned him. When interviewers begged him to stop, not even when he got shot the first time, he kept going, and so did his enemies. Behind the viral moments was a woman who couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe, couldn't convince her son to let it go. Sandria's Mays knew what was coming, she said. I stayed on him about this beef stuff, cussed him out, begged him to take stuff down. But Fio wasn't listening. Not when money was flowing, not when his shows were selling out, not when dissing dead ops earned him millions of streams. She couldn't reach him until the moment she had to identify his body. The tragedy of Fulio isn't just that he died, it's that he knew he would. In interview after interview, Fio admitted that his lifestyle had consequences. Trench's News put it best. When rappers start making peace talks, it's usually a red flag. Not because they're faking it, but because they know their enemies are getting closer. Fio hinted at squashing beefs. He mentioned possibly making peace with young Gene Ace, but behind the scenes, he was still giving out his address, still going live with weapons, still moving recklessly. Was just so surprised that he got all them enemies. Man, and he was. Willing to go live everywhere he went and tell people, even to promote a birthday party, I think was crazy, man. He was trying to do both heal and haunt, and in Jacksonville, that gets you killed. He wasn't without guidance. According to friends and family, he was told again and again to chill, to leave the city, to stop dissing the dead. But Fulio was stubborn. His homies say he was smart, strategic, but ultimately addicted to chaos. He thought he could outmaneuver. His enemies outlive karma, but even he knew deep down it was catching up. The final straw might have been the birthday party. Fulio was in Tampa, not far from Jacksonville. And worse, he was publicly advertising the location. He wasn't thinking like a man at war. He was thinking like a rapper throwing a bash. But to the people who hated him, that Instagram post might as well have been an invitation to kill. And they are SVPD. Fulio died doing what made him famous, blurring the line between art and aggression. His music wasn't metaphor, it was confession. And unlike other rappers who leave the city, Fulio stayed in the storm, kept his ops close to close. That's what made him a target. Why does it still matter? Because Fulio isn't alone. It's just the latest in a line of drill rappers who died by the same rules they rapped about. And there are others following him right now, thinking their flow is bulletproof. Sandria's Maze doesn't want pity. She wants change. And in her upcoming documentary, she plans to lay bare everything. The names, the threats, the warning signs the industry ignored. Fulio was a son, a brother, a headline, a case filed, and his death wasn't an accident. It was scheduled. One thing Sandria's Maze wants to make perfectly clear: the music industry watched this happen. Record labels knew Fulio was provoking real-life violence. YouTube profited off every view. Spotify streamed his most toxic tracks to millions. Blogs published every diss like it was sport. There were no interventions, no label executives calling his phone to say, "Cut it out." Instead, they booked him for shows, pushed his music through algorithms, gave him bigger checks the more bodies he mentioned. This isn't just a rapper with bad decisions. This is a system built to reward disrespect and punish vulnerability. Fulio wasn't alone in his recklessness, but he was rare in his honesty. He told the truth in the rawest, darkest way, and that truth got him killed. In the wake of Fulio's death, KTA has gone silent. Many of the young artists he mentored have stopped posting. A few went private. Some deleted tracks. And the rumor mill is on fire with speculation that more indictments could be coming. Meanwhile, ATK affiliates have been uncharacteristically quiet. Even young Gene Ace, known for speaking out, hasn't publicly mocked Fulio's passing, which has people asking, did it finally go too far? Whether out of fear of RICO charges or genuine remorse, Jacksonville rap has been eerily silent since the news broke. That silence says more than words ever could. One of the most heartbreaking elements of this entire saga isn't just the rappers dying young, it's the mothers left to bury them. Sandria says she doesn't blame them. She understands them, because when your son is in the streets, there's only so much you can do. But now she wants more mothers to speak up before it's too late. Drill music isn't going anywhere. Culture isn't going to vanish overnight. But Fulio's story is a signal to everyone in that world. This path ends one of two ways: death or prison. And Sandria is making sure everyone hears that message loud and clear. She may have lost her son, but she refuses to let his legacy be reduced to a diss track or a thumbnail or a mugshot. She's turning her grief into a megaphone. And with every interview, every post, every courtroom appearance, she's making sure Fulio's death means something. And when she couldn't hold it all in anymore, she exploded in court. The outburst that shook the system was supposed to be routine, a procedural arraignment. 3 men shackled, led into a courtroom with cameras rolling and journalists scribbling quotes they'd forget by the evening news cycle. But what happened in that Florida courtroom wasn't routine. It wasn't forgettable. It was historic. Because what started as a quiet proceeding turned into a scene of eruption, grief, fury, and a mother who could no longer contain herself. Sandria's Maze had been quiet through most of the arraignment. Her eyes didn't blink. Her lips were clenched. But the moment prosecutors read out the formal charges against the suspects, first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, aggravated battery, something inside her snapped and she screamed, "You took my baby. Hope they fry. I hope they rot." The courtroom fell silent. Even the defendants turned to look. One of them allegedly smirked, and that's when she lunged. Alaves grabbed her. Her family cried. The judge slammed the gavel and called for order. But Sandria's didn't care about decorum. She wanted justice, and she wasn't going to whisper for it. The suspects on trial, the three men charged, Sean Guy, Davon Murphy, and Rashad Murphy, were caught by more than just coincidence. Prosecutors laid out the evidence. Surveillance footage from the Holiday Inn, cell phone tower triangulation, license plate reader hits, witness testimonies, and the biggest twist, the fourth suspect, a woman. Not only was she allegedly involved in the planning and execution, but she had a far more complicated detail. She was pregnant at the time of the shooting. That woman is now fully cooperating with law enforcement. Her testimony could unravel the entire defense. But it also introduced a new question into the courtroom. How far does the conspiracy go? According to court documents, the suspects may have had prior knowledge of Fulio's movements before the party. How? Through social media, maybe even someone inside Fio's own camp? That possibility has led some to speculate that Fio's death wasn't just a spontaneous hit. It was a setup, a planned execution, which makes Sandria's rage even more understandable. What many observers noted was how mechanical the courtroom felt. As Sandries poured her soul out, guards holding her arms, tears running down her face, the prosecutors kept reading. The judge called for composure. The defendants stared ahead like statues. It was as if the very system meant to deliver justice had forgotten how to feel anything. But the public didn't forget. Within hours of the courtroom chaos, clips from the scene were online. Millions of views, thousands of comments. Some called Sandria's brave. Others said she disrespected the court. But everyone agreed on one thing. That was the sound of a mother who's buried too. Many sons. And that sound, raw, human, unfiltered, is now being shared across every platform. Memes, TikToks, explicable videos. The internet might not always care about nuance, but this time, the pain was undeniable. This wasn't Sandria's first time in a hospital or courtroom. Years earlier, she was shot 8 times in what many believe was a targeted attack related to Fio's beefs. Everybody know that I got shot 8 times going to work early in the morning? She survived barely, and she's been living with the physical and emotional scars ever since. Her son continued to make headlines, diss tracks, tours, millions of views. But the bullets never stopped flying. And when Fio died, when she had to bury him, the dam broke. As the trial looms, key questions remain. Who gave up Fulio's location? How many people were involved in planning the hit? Will the cooperating suspect reveal names that go beyond just the shooters? And is there any hope of accountability for the platforms and labels that profited from the beef? Sandries wants answers. And she's demanding them in the courtroom and beyond. The documentary is coming. Yes, Sandries is working on a documentary. One that she says will be different from anything out there. Not just because she lived through it, but because she survived it twice. She's already met with independent producers. She's kept voice notes, screenshots, photos. She wants the world to see what Jacksonville drill culture did to her son and what the courts can't undo. The suspects remain in custody. Pre-trial hearings are scheduled. Sandrias has vowed to be at every single one. She says she's ready to testify if needed, ready to look them in the eyes again, ready to tell her story with no filter. The prosecutors are building a case for premeditated murder, and the cooperating witness may be the nail in the coffin. They were caught on tape, caught by phones, caught by someone they trusted. This case is airtight. But for Sandrias, the only thing airtight is the casket, the one she had to buy. She doesn't want revenge. She wants awareness. She wants young artists to know that no song is worth your mother's tears. And she wants the people watching this video to understand drill music is real. The consequences are real. And Fio's death is not just a tragic loss. It's a symbol of a broken culture, of an ignored mother, of a system that amplifies the chaos and silences the grief. If you enjoyed this video, click on the videos on your screen for more.